Okay, here we go. We are talking about marketing segmentation, targeting, and positioning, chapter 5. When you think about targeting and marketing different brands, it's interesting to put about who you're targeting. At the end of the day, it's not just a matter of what you say or how you say it, it's also to whom you say it. Marketers spend a disproportionate amount of time and resources trying to find the ideal audience. Doesn't make a lot of sense if you're out there trying to market a men's shoe to 90-year-old women. You're just wasting your time more than likely. So there's a lot that goes into the segmentation of it all. Sometimes what's interesting is how one brand can appeal to two completely different demographics and be completely synchronous. What do you mean, Randy? Like, how can we market 60-year-old housewives and to the same as like cool hip hop rappers? Well, somebody's out there figuring out a way to do it. Right? I don't even need to touch this one. What a great campaign. So let's talk about how we're going to do our graphic segmentation, our marketing segmentation, I should say. There's different areas we want to get into. There's 4 main methods that we're going to segment the consumer marketer by. So we segment these consumer markets by looking at different identifiable categories that then we can create subcategories on. First one being geographic segmentation, that's the where. Demographic, which is the one you're most familiar with, that's the who. Behavioral segmentation, how the subject actually acts or interacts or engages with the product, brand, or service, that's the behavior segmentation. And lastly, the psychographic segmentation, which is the why. So we have our where, who, how, and why. Let's look at a little bit more. The first one, geographic segmentation, different things within that category. We're going to explore the location, cultural preferences, the climate or season, the language, population types and densities. Something like, it's one thing to say Los Angeles, but are you talking about rural 909 Los Angeles, or are you talking about downtown Santa Monica? Could be completely different. Demographic segmentation, these are the ones that most people think of when they think of consumer marketing, right? This is gender, family, age, income, whatever. So let's go through these. Gender, income, age, education level is important. Are we talking about more sophisticated? What tends to happen with education level is occupation, as you can see there. A higher educated person might have a higher, more prestigious job that might in turn have more disposable income based on their salary. So there's a lot of factors that go into things like that. Family, of course, race, ethnicity. Behavioral segmentation, this is what I talked about. The behavior segmentation, is it the usage-based segmentation, when they use it, how they use it, an occasion-based, it's a Christmas item or it's for birthdays or whatever it may be. Benefit segmentation is part of the behavioral part, because benefits are what exactly are we looking for when we're actually consuming the product. And then lastly, the psychographic one, which psychographics is more about your lifestyle, your personality, your values, things about you that make up your purchasing decision or your beliefs. We also want to talk about our VALs. What are VALs? VALs are your values, attitudes, and lifestyle. So VALs make up value, attitude, and lifestyle. So when we're talking about the VALs, there's a whole bunch of different things that go into it, different types of people, different values, attitudes, and lifestyle. We'll go through this whole big thing quickly. What I want you to do is think for a moment, which one of these are you? Because you're going to fall into one of these categories more than likely across the board, but you're also going to be different, for example. So when we look at it, the VALS framework, we look at innovators. Innovators are characterized by high income, high resources. They like the finer things in life. You might be an innovator on wine. I really enjoy a high-end wine, but maybe on automobiles, you're not quite so innovative. You're more about, hey, look, whatever gets me the cheapest Hyundai, Pinto, whatever it may be. Thinkers are motivated by their knowledge. They want to learn. They want to use their education to help figure out what their best product is. Believers look to their peers for affirmation of their decisions. So they have fewer resources in the first two than the innovators and the thinkers, but they're kind of looking around trying to see what their peers are doing. Achievers, they're high resource consumers who want to excel both at workplace, with their families. They like the classic brands. They see their identity in overachieving or being the best of the best type thing. Strivers tend to be lower resource consumers. They want to do better, but they might not have the resources that, say, a thinker or an innovator might have. Experiencers want to have different. They want to be different. Those are the guys, the majority of experiences are young adults exploring, trying new things, trying to be an innovator or a first adopter to a brand, that kind of thing. Makers, like experiencers, want self-expression, but they're going to focus building on more of their better family, more of the things that are important to them than actually the experiences type thing. They'd rather not spend money as much as they'd like to have their family group and be together, that kind of thing. And then survivors, of course, the least number of resources. They're the least likely to adopt innovative programs, products. They're just holding on for dear life, trying to get by. All right, so now it's storytelling time. In talking about different marketing and segmentation, one of the things I did when I was doing networks, I launched Speed Channel. I worked on some shows like I might have told you, Modern Family. I helped launch that, did the marketing for Schitt's Creek, which is a funny show. We also had a show called Return of the Mac. So think about this. Long before, who's a boy band? BTS, right? The latest boy band. Before BTS was One Direction. And before One Direction was, I don't know, NSYNC. And before NSYNC was the New Kids on the Block. New Kids on the Block were an 80s band. They came up when I did. 5 guys singing, little boy band type deal. In the 80s, they were huge. And then what happened is, as they matured and did their thing, they all went their separate ways, as boy bands tend to do. Well, one of the singers, Joey McIntyre, had a show on our television network, Pop, called Return of the Mac, where he played kind of like a Larry David character. It's a real life version of himself. It was kind of funny. So I had to market the series. Well, knowing that these people, they call themselves the New Kids on the Block fans, mostly women, call themselves blockheads. So I've already identified there are blockheads. What do they look like demographically? They're 55-year-old females, middle income. You know, they've kind of had their walk in the sun, but there's a high nostalgia value for things they like. And if these guys are blockheads for New Kids on the Block, my job was to identify to these markets. So what we actually ended up doing was a multi-city tour where we bring Joey in. We had a lot of social. We do focus, or not focus groups. We do press groups. And we do tours and junkets, and we'd have bloggers come in and interview them. And we brought all these people through these Xfinity retail locations to try and drive awareness for it. The program ended up being a huge success. And I'll show you, I actually posted the video in the segment. It's ROTM, Return of the Mac recap. Watch that video when you get a chance. You'll see what I'm talking about. It looks something like this, but I'm not going to bore you with all the details right now. So now I'll talk about segmenting B2B markets. How do we segment B2B markets? Remember, we have B2B and B2C. So let's talk B2B first, business to business. That's Nike selling to Vons. That's me at Pop selling distribution to Xfinity TV, not me selling to the consumer to watch it. Make sense? So different types of demographics and tactics we use. There's several advantages to increase results. Okay. There's trying to increase our results. So even when we're going out there as a salesman and we're trying to sell our copying machines or our software, our pharmaceutical product, we want to make sure that we're targeting the B2B. So we're not going after everybody. And what are the advantages when we do it? We're going to increase your campaign performance, right? Your numbers are going to be better when you're targeting people that are relevant. You're going to improve loyalty and retention because you're targeting key people with messaging that's relevant to them and they resonate with. It's going to help product development as well, because the more you can talk to these people, the more you can segment B2B and find out what they need. Again, consumers want benefits. Marketers want to sell or appease their services and products that take care of the benefits, features, and needs of the consumer, or the B2B in this case. So we want to make sure in order to service them, we're selling the right products. So product development, obviously improving our profitability is another huge one as well. So those are some of the values or some of the reasons why we would want to segment B2B markets. How we segment B2B markets, there's we have 5 main areas we'll look at for there. Firmographics, meaning based on the shared company attributes, the industry, the location, the size, the structure, the performance, that's your building, that's your company. Firmographics. Technographics, that's based on the various hardware, software technologies used by B2B consumers. So that's if you're using apps or you're using a certain technology for XYZ, a stream, that kind of thing. That's where that relevant is by who's doing that segmentation. Needs-based, self-explanatory. Value-based, customers according to potential value they bring to a business. We may say, these guys are way more profitable. They're a larger account. They do X deals a year versus a smaller guy that does 1 or 2 deals a year. So we might want to segment them out and put our A list, B list, C list based on value, revenue, lifetime shares, things like that. And then behavioral segmentation. How does the company, how do consumers behave towards the company's products or services? The essential factors in an effective marketing strategy, or marketing segmentation, I should say, we call it the ADAMS. Oh, good. Another acronym coming up. Let's talk ADAMS. These 5 factors in a marketing segmentation include accessibility, the first A. Can you reach the consumers at an affordable cost? Given the strengths and abilities of your marketing department, do you have the resources to access this demographic you want to target? Are they differentiatable? Can you find a different, can you segment it out and say, I want to be able to target this demographic and be able to identify what that differentiation is when you actually go out? It has to be clearly, implemented without an overlap. The next A, if you will, is actionable. So it's one thing to be able to get to them, and it's another thing to be able to define who they are when we get to them, but can we actually make it happen? Is it practical or profitable to execute this marketing strategy? Measurable. Remember, ROI, that's what I talk about throughout this entire thing. Can we measure our successes? Can we measure our input? Can we do it in real time? Are we fluid enough to be able to say, if this is working, then let's do more. If it's not working, let's adjust the sales and go in a different direction, that kind of thing. And is it substantial? Can we reach a certain amount of value or a certain amount of weight with these people to maintain a positive marketing campaign and make it worthwhile? So that's your ADAMS. Those are the essential factors in marketing segmentation. So now let's talk about actual target market strategies. There's different strategies we're going to go into. We'll talk about 3 or 4 of them. So we're going to talk about these different marketing strategies. Within each strategy, there's some smaller areas. So we're going to talk about target marketing strategies. The first one is undifferentiated marketing. That's mass marketing. That's just boom, shotgun. We don't care who our demographic is. We're going to reach as many people as possible. Differentiated is kind of more segmented. It's the most common one that we would use. A company identifies several target markets and designs separate concentrated strategies. So for example, Procter & Gamble might have segmented marketing. They may be reaching 3 different demographics with 3 different products simultaneously. Concentrated marketing is more of a niche marketing. It's they focus on just one target market. There's one single marketing mix. They do one thing to one person, and that's what they want to do. And then micro marketing. When you think micro marketing, think about your local, hyper local. You're thinking about your real estate agent that maybe he puts his card on the front of the Vons or that kind of thing, or on the side of a car wash there's this little mini billboard. That's within a neighborhood. That might be within your block. That might be a gardener trying to do his services just in your local area. So that's micro marketing, even smaller than niche marketing. We also want to talk about product positioning. So now we're going to get ready for a little 4 or 5 step process here when we're talking about the product positioning. We have market segmentation, selecting the target market. After we select the target market, we're going to figure out how we position our product. So now let's talk about those in a little bit more. Once we have our market segmentation and we say, okay, that's who we're going to break it up to, we select which one we want to go into. Our product positioning. We have several different ways we can position this. Think about head-to-head positioning. So head-to-head positioning is simply, we're going to be as good. Coke versus Pepsi, may the best man win, head-to-head. You might have differentiation. Differentiation meaning we're going to go completely different. We're different. Apple is different than all these other products because we do X, Y, Z. You also have a positioning statement along with your, we've talked about all these other statements too, the mission statement and all that stuff. We want to have a positioning statement that basically tells everybody there, briefly describes what our brand, our product, our service, who's our target market. It explains everything we're trying to communicate in marketing. So for example, Amazon, their positioning statement is as follows. I'll let you read that. Take a second while I get a sip. Versus, say, Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola's positioning statement is a little bit different. Refreshing options. They always try and keep them kind of aspirational and kind of vague so they can capture everybody going into the, they don't want to leave no man behind, so to speak. And some of the ways we do this, we put together a perceptual map, right? If we did a perceptual map, we'd be looking at exactly, okay, so where are we? If our perception is the no caffeine, high caffeine, sweet or bitter, so we're going taste and caffeine, then we put together a perceptual map and see where we land out on all these things. So we would say, okay, for example, Coca-Cola is, lower on the caffeine side. No, it's higher on the caffeine side and slightly more sweet than bitter versus Canada Dry, so on and so forth. So that's it for this. Let's go over lecture 3, chapter 5. Go ahead and read that book. Get ready for the quiz coming up. Be sure to watch my Return to the Mac video, and I will catch you guys on the next one.